Have you ever walked away from a conversation and thought something about that was not right? That interaction did not sit right with me. It wasn't necessarily wrong, but something in your intuition kept replaying the moment. Today we're going to explore that why that feeling happened and why your awareness may be picking it up. Welcome back to my channel, Oracle Rose Healing Tarot, Divine Collective. I'm so glad that you are here. Today's message is where we're going to look at how spiritual awareness help us understand, like when people, the little emotional things and energetic things that happen between you and others every day when you interact with them. Sometimes our intuition notices something before our logical mind can pick it up. So this reading is about recognizing those moments and understanding what they may be trying to tell you about awareness and growth. Okay, so as you see on the board collective, it says clock it. Okay, and so basically, this is about using your intuition. I'm calling this one when you feel like your intuition is there. Okay, and you're picking it up. All right, and so we're going to be using the regular tarot deck, and we're also going to be using the Intuitive Gives extra deck too. And that's a big old deck. It's like 111 cards. 111. Love his decks. I'm telling you, go check out his channel as well. I find him to be very amusing, very intuitive. But before we begin, please like, share, subscribe, share these messages with someone who values like emotional intelligence and spiritual growth. Thank you, collective. I'm really appreciative to you guys. And remember that all the readings are general. Okay, so take what resonates and leave the rest for the universe to recycle. All right. But before we get started, I'm going to go ring the bell because we have to do a prayer. All right. So watch your ears. I give thanks to the Most High Divine Spirit for being here and for surrounding us with healing energy and for guiding today's messages by the grace of the Most High and the Holy Spirit. This space is filled with love, peace, light, and all energies that do not serve our highest good are transmuted into love, healing, and renewing energy. Now let's step into this reading collective. All right, so we're gonna get it going because we need to know how to, you need to tap into your intuition. It's your biggest guide, and it's actually the only thing you need in this world, in my opinion. All right. So we're going to talk about those interactions when you come up against somebody. Right now in these tarot streets, in these spiritual streets, as Empress T444 would say, there's a lot of gossip, in tarot. On this channel, you're going to learn how to use that information as fuel in your journey of healing. All right. So we're going to go ahead and cut the deck. All right. And we're going to thank the spirit guides and the ancestors for being here. The first card out is going to be, we're going to ask when something feels off, collective, you got to know when something feels off. Okay. And so we're going to ask the divine, what would be the energy to look out for when something feels off? So we're going to ask the divine. I had two come out. They're going back in because, as you know, we start out with a one card situation, and what came out was the Queen of Wands. Okay. Now, you already know when it comes to the Queen of Wands, that's about optimism, good advice, kind of what I'm trying to do here with you, collective. Okay. And so this card represents like the moment when your attention was drawn to something in an interaction with somebody else. All right. You might have took a slight pause in the conversation. You might have felt unusual. Somebody might have said something that was kind of off to you, or there was a change in tone that caught your awareness. And what this is telling me with this Queen of Wands is that you got a heightened perception, okay, around when you're with others. And that's a good thing because you want to make sure that your awareness is always turned up when you come into other contact with other energies. Okay. And this also tells me that your awareness may be picking up on subtle cues in behavior and communication of others. And that's a good thing, collective. Okay. So we want to stay with that. That's a good, thank you, Spirit, for that card. That's a good way to start out. All right. Now, in one of the techniques I use to stay into that energy is that I usually just observe without judging people. I don't have time to use my energy to come up with some definitive conclusion about what somebody else is doing. And I'm going to tell you how that works, because when you observe the moment calmly and you just allow the insight to develop without emotional reaction, then it keeps you unbothered. And you know that's where we're always trying to go with this. Okay. Now, the next card out, collective, is about what your intuition may be seeing when you're interacting with other people. Okay. So we're going to ask the divine, what is the collective seeing when they're, what is their intuition? I'm talking sensing. I'm talking not what you're seeing, but what you're sensing. What you're sensing, seeing with your third eye, but you're sensing with your intuition, your inner knowing. Okay. So we're going to ask divine, what is collective? What is the intuition sensing? And what came out was a 6 of cups. Okay. And you know, when you talk about the 6 of cups, you could be thinking about memories, you know. You could be thinking about the past, you know. uh when it tells me cups is all about emotion, so you know that. You know, it's about love and friendship, matters of the heart. So when you're dealing with you may be picking up that, you know, a lot of times our intuition often recognize patterns before we consciously understand them. You just keep seeing them repeating over and over when you come in contact with somebody else. And you might be feeling curious, you know, you might be thoughtful, you might be reflecting on the past or thoughtful after the conversation. Okay. And so what this is telling me, this 6 of cups is saying that, this card is saying that you got a collective, your intuition is getting there. Your intuitive awareness is high. Your internal awareness is noticing subtle inconsistencies when you come in contact with certain people. Now, I know these people are out here because all the other energy readings are picking up on, you know, tarot is like, you know, more like gossip. And so it's picking up on all these other energies that are trying to be adverse to you being in your higher self. So it's important to know these things, okay? And so let me just tell you, this card is saying to me that you need to do an intuitive check-in from now, every now and then. Just make sure that you are honoring your intuition. You're meditating, sitting there listening for it, so you know to recognize it, even when there's other distractions going on in the world, or somebody even talking to you straight in your face. You can hear your intuition over a conversation that's full of lies or full of deceit, or manipulative conversation as the person is talking. You can drown them out and listen to yourself the whole time. Okay. And how this works, you ask yourself, what specifically caught your attention? And that's going to strengthen your intuitive clarity. Like, it's going to open you up. A lot of times people be thinking people are doing magic and stuff. No, people are just basically paying attention to themselves more than they're allowing somebody to do spell work on them with their mouth. Okay. All right. So clock that, you know. And if these messages are helping you, please, collective, go ahead and like and share the video. Make sure you subscribe, because I got a couple of more of these that's going to be coming up, talking about how you can, heighten your spiritual gifts and things of that nature. So we got some good things coming out, and I want you to be ready. All right. The next card that's coming out is emotional energy. All right. So you got to, in my opinion, you know, it's about being able to be present in the interaction, and being able to clock the emotional energy in the present, you know. So we're going to ask the divine, and what energy do we need to get into in order to be have that presence in an interaction, so we can. And this came out, it jumped on my lap, the magician. Okay. And we already know when the magician is, that's about being skilled and confident. It's about being skilled, it's about being confident. It's about, the magician is a powerful manifester. All right. So you already know that. It's about being using your skills. So this what this card is telling me that you already know every interaction carries some kind of emotional tone when you with somebody. You might notice when you with one person, you guys are always feeling a certain way. When you talk to another person, that you might be feeling happy when it's certain people who give you a certain kind of feeling. All right. So, this tells me that when there's stress, insecurity, competitiveness, or misunderstandings between you and another person before you even start the conversation. Clock it. All right. So this tells me you know about it before you even get started. Now, and you got to remember too, collective emotional states can influence how you communicate with other people too. So if you already think you're going to get into it with this person, you already on goal before you even talk to them. All right. So you got to make sure that you doing a technique I call emotional reflection. All right. And how this is going to work for you, if you reflect on how the interaction felt, you then separate that, help that help you to separate the perception from the reaction. Okay. You have to, how people say, you're not listening to what I'm saying. You like, well, it's not what you say, it's how you said it. A lot of times, if you're focusing on how someone says something, you're going to miss the point altogether. Because one thing you can't control, collective, is how somebody else sound and how they deliver something. But you can notice how it makes you feel. You can use your intuition, and you can also um, wonder about or consider what it's teaching you. Okay. So that's the next card out. Like, what type in these types of situations, what is it trying to teach you, collective? Because that's what it's about here. You keep having these same hamster wheel experiences with the same people, and you just want to get out at this point. Okay. All right. So we're going to ask the divine and our spirit guides, what is this situation teaching the collective? What is this situation teaching the collective? We're going to ask. Let's see if we can get out. Okay, a King of Cups. Okay, so the King of Cups, wisdom, of course. We're talking about a king. It's always about some wisdom, but it's the King of Cups. So this is telling me about love, so it's wisdom and love. All right. And so basically, moments like this, when you get into these moments with other people, collective, it's strengthening your discernment. Okay. And you're learning how to observe others and their behavior patterns. All right. Instead of just reacting to them, you just kind of sitting back watching their little movie. Okay. And the good thing about this King of Cups card is telling me that you got some growth coming through your awareness too. All right. Because we're talking about the king. The king is wise. The king, and also the cups are about love and emotion. So you're going to be wise in love, and that's a good thing too, because that means you're not reacting. All right. So the situation might catch your attention, but it might even expand how you feel emotionally. You might start showing a little bit more empathy. All right. So here's a technique I'm thinking that will help with this collective. It's called the growth question, because you want to grow in moments like this. What can I learn from this interaction? Okay. And I'm going to tell you how it's going to work for you, because when you turn to reflection and you start turning it into growth, that strengthens you emotionally. So that's how everything gets to work out for the greater good for you as well, collective. All right. And that's what it's about here, too, as we're trying to heal. All right. So basically, it's about our personal awareness. So the next card out is going to be about, and what type of energy can we get in our best personal awareness, a personal awareness of ourselves. Okay. Because your internal response to anything that's happening when you clock it, that's what matters the most. Not what that person is doing, but how you respond to it. Because you got to remember, in your energy collective, you always got to, well, you're always going to be reaping what you sow. So your consequences are yours, regardless of what external factors caused it. Okay. So the card that's coming out for personal awareness is a Five of Swords. All right. So when I'm looking at these Five of Swords, you already know when we see Five of Swords, we're thinking about conflict. We're thinking about tension and a loss in a loss in your perspective. Okay. You got to remember your internal response matters. All right. This is telling me that there might be some emotional sensitivity still there, because the wands is talking about, I'm talking about swords, I'm sorry. It's talking about sending it up. You ready to fight. you know. But if you feel yourself getting heightened while you're talking to somebody, that is your thing. No one has the power to push your buttons unless you give it to them collective. So your awareness is going to help you process interpersonal experience with your thoughts. You're gonna use your head instead of your emotions. All right. And how you gonna do this? You got to do an inner check-in. That's the technique. You got to check in on yourself, because acknowledging your feelings supports your emotional understanding. When you got to acknowledge your feelings. A lot of people out here playing like they don't even have feelings, like they came into this life and feelings were not installed in them, and then they wonder why their world is going crazy. They're thinking that if I can act like an Autobot, then that means that no one affected me. No, acknowledging your feelings is going to help you get your emotional understanding in order and regulation. All right. So let's think about it. Now that you know that you're going to be getting your emotions in check, and you're not going to let nobody take you off your square when you clock in a mess that they're trying to bring to you, then you got to make sure that your communication stays on point too. Because no matter what you uh, say and do, if you don't have your energy and your words on the same track, then it's not working for you. So the communication is what's next. So we're going to ask Holy Spirit, what's the best way to communicate in these situations? What's the energy? Too many came out. I'm just going to put it back in. What's the energy? Let's see what we can get. I'm throwing the deck. I don't know why. I got a sense of nervousness right now. Being honest, it's the energy coming through. All right, I had two come out, and this is the third time I'm gonna go back in, but let's see what we can get. Oh, sheesh. I don't know what's going on this morning. Bear with me, collective. All right, here we are. Woo! And this is a Eight of Wands in reverse. All right. And that's amazing, because the next we wanted to know what the communication insight was going to be. So we had to reach for this card. So thank you, Spirit. Wands is all about communication, as you know. All right. And so a Six of Wands in reverse is about, you might be worried about failing in this, losing face, because you're probably so used to somebody getting you off your square, and them being allowed to turn you into the energy that they brought to you, that you might be concerned about it. You might even avoid the discussion. You might avoid the conversations, And I just want to tell you that's not going to help, because avoiding conversations can could lead to situations unresolved. That's going to lead to beef on the table. You know, you got to ask yourself thoughtful questions. You got to clarify the situation. Why am I acting like this? Why am I letting them push my buttons? Why am I always upset at at the words of this person? A lot of times you miss the message because you already automatically upset. All right. So I'm going to tell you a technique I use with this is that you got to clarify. It's called a clarification practice. That's what I came up with. Me and my terms. Clarification practice. This is where you ask yourself calm questions, so you can create an opportunity to understand the other person in the interaction, instead of a lot of times we'll get to shooting off questions like bullets, like we almost trying to interrogate the person, and that heightens the situation. It almost can make it escalate. Then next thing you know, the questions become childish because it becomes like trying to win in it, you know. And then sometimes the other person might be trying to do it to you. So if you take the reins of the conversation and you calm it down and start asking clarification, calm questions, so you can get back on the understanding with the person. All right. And I talked about it before. The next card out is about emotional regulation because that's what's most important. If you can't even ask calm questions from your inner being and you letting people pull your inner being to the external so you can act like them, that's not good. That's a direct hit to your healing. All right. And so awareness is about everything. That's how we heal. All right. So we're going to ask spirit, what's the best energy for our emotional regulation for the collective? We're going to ask spirit, the best energy for emotional regulation. All right. Page of Cups. New beginning. The page is always about new beginning and it's about love. So using love in ways in a new beginning, be creative with it. You got to be you got to awaken. You got to know that it's all about love, collective. Love is the highest frequency. How we respond to situations influence the outcome, and you know that. Choosing that calm reflection instead of immediate reaction is the winning energy. That's what spirit is trying to tell us here. The technique I always use, that breathing. I've been in yoga, and I'm gonna let you know that breathing reset. You know how you take in that inhale through your mouth, hold it for 6 seconds, and then exhale through your nose in 4 seconds. And you do that 3 times. Slow breathing regulates your nervous system. All right. And you can do that before even responding. Once you're in that kind of energy, there's no way you're gonna go off the deep end. And the person sitting across from you probably will clock that, how calm you are. All right. So it's going to be about reclaiming the focus. So we're going to ask spirit, we're reclaiming focus on this. So what is the next card out is about reclaiming your focus, because not every interaction requires an extended analysis. You do not got to be sitting there going over it, flipping it over and over and stuff. You just got to be reclaiming your focus, and don't let nobody steal your joy, so to speak. Your joy is your focus. So we're going to ask spirit, how can we reclaim focus? And what came out was a 6 of Pentacles. All right. Pentacles is, we're all about it. You know that. You're going to have to be generous with yourself. You're going to probably have to be charitable. You see how he's giving to the other ones in this card? He's being benevolent in some sense. It's about giving and receiving. Equal give and take. But you're going to be the one collective who set the tone, because you the healed one. All right. What this is telling me, that you know how to shift your attention back to your priorities and goals. And that's good, because we've been healing for a while now. Pat yourself on the back. You choose where your attention and your energy go. Thank you, Spirit, for that card. All right. And I'm going to tell you, you already know if we're not doing what we want to do in the moment, I just redirect my energy. It doesn't have to stay in any situation where it's not serving me. Because when you refocus your attention, collective, that restores your emotional balance. It's just that easy. It's just that easy awareness. Okay. All right. So the next card, and I know I say it's easy, but the next card is about just wisdom. This is where your wisdom is growing in these steps. And so we're going to ask the divine with our wisdom moving forward as a collective, you know, because experience is going to strengthen our discernment. So I'm excited about that. So let's ask spirit what we're getting for our wisdom moving forward in this type of energy, if we decide to take this healing path. Spirit. sometimes pulling and pulling. Oh, here it is. Okay. And it's a Page of Wands in reverse. Okay. Now, Page of Wands in reverse is considered bad news. But the way I'm taking this is that you're going to know when your wisdom is going to be so heightened that you're going to see bad news right then and there. And you're going to know to get into your healing path. Okay. Because you're understanding that if you don't reflect the repeating patterns, you're not going to get the lesson. All right. And you know that you got the only way to grow is that you got to integrate the lesson of keeping your energy high in situations like this. Okay. You might even have to start keeping like a discernment journal, and be great. Give yourself grace because on this healing journey, you may not get it right the first time, especially with people where you got a long standing communication, a haywire situation going on. So it may not go good the first time, but that don't mean give up. As you are healing, you're going to be the one stabilizing, and you're also going to be the one ascending, and you might even allow people to you'll be the example. Okay. All right. So just keep a discernment journal. Record experiences that strengthen your pattern recognition. Okay. In yourself and in others. So you'll know how you want to design your communication with them going forward. Okay. Remember, I said you can even do where you practice, um, you know, how you will respond in an emotionally regulated and intelligent way. You know, this is all for your greater good. It's going to keep you safe, sane, and happy, and also it's going to keep you from being overtaken by anything external. All right. So, and I'm telling you that because the last card out is about spiritual insight and peace. Okay. Because awareness is going to lead to clarity, and clarity, when you're a clear channel, you're a master a manifester, and you can get whatever you want. Okay. All right. So we're going to have um, spiritual insight and the peace that comes around being in this energy, divine, for the collective. All right. And what we got out was a 6 of Swords in reverse. Okay. And so when I see this in reverse, it says that, your clarity is still unfolding. Okay. Because usually the 6 of Swords in reverse is about not moving forward. But this is telling me that we're still unfolding in this, because I'm telling you, you might have to customize this based on who you're dealing with. All right. You might have to customize your energy, and making sure that you are being fluid within so that you can understand what's going on in the moment, and maintain your spiritual insight and peace. Okay. Because understanding develops gradually. Sometimes you don't get it on the first try. People be mad because they have to repeat something as if people got to get it the first time around, as if it's always clear, you know. But I'm going to tell you one of the techniques that I use to kind of help me. I center myself daily. It's a practice that I do. Okay. I do that because when I ground myself regularly, it strengthens emotional balance and discernment collective. So try that, you know, just be grounding on a daily. All right. So I'm gonna pull out the Intuitive Cab extra deck. We're gonna talk about some situations that you might have been in, that you might need to clock or whatever it is. I had already when I say this is a big, beautiful deck, look at the shine on that. I'm telling you. And then the illustrations are just they're beautiful. Anyway, they're adorable. But we're gonna pull out a few cards. All right. Thief, robbery, burglary, embezzlement, larceny. Think about it. You get in a situation with somebody, and it could be they stole from you. They stole from you, and it's going to be really hard. You might even come in contact with somebody from the past that you remember did something to you. You know, and you're going to have to make a determination in the interaction on how to stay in this energy. Okay. So keep that in mind. Let's think about let's see what another situation Spirit can pull out of these cards for us that may be coming up for some collective. Okay. People wanting access to you. Now that you healing collective and you in this high vibing energy, people want all in your business. They're trying to get in and everything, and you know it. You clock it. You know, but you know they're not bringing the same energy that you're trying to heal in. So you're gonna have to stay in our healing journey to make sure that those who can get in, and the ones who don't get you out of your energy. All right. Let's ask Spirit. What are another situation? A quagmire, an entrapment, a setup. Clock it. You already know when somebody's trying to play on you right now. You know what season it is, and in any season, collective, in any season, there's always somebody low vibing trying to entrap and set somebody up. Spirit says that's the truth. Okay. Always trying to manipulate your energy. Be sure that you remain in what we were taught here today in this reading. All right. We're going to ask for a few more out. I love this deck because when I say intuitive Kev thought of it all, this is 111 cards. It's hard to even hold the deck because it's so big, you know, but I love it. And I'm inspired by him. And I think he's on Etsy too. I got these off Etsy. I know I heard him say he has them on eBay. The next one that came out was, oh my goodness, feminine abundance, queen fertility. Oh, so this is the Empress. Okay, Empress energy. Okay. All right. So clock it when you come around that Empress energy too, collective. Know when you in good company and allow your healing to shine. Know when you in good company. Don't be afraid to be authentic. Do it, you know, because you're not only going to come in contact with people who are low vibe. Now that you're high vibing, you're going to come in contact with other people in Empress energy. All right. And you're going to love it. It's going to feel like a party all the time, a celebration. One more out. Ooh, well, we got two and I'm done. Any contracts, commitments, obligations, or agreements, make sure you watching you clock it and read the fine print. That's self-explanatory. And the last one out was if there's any kind of group associations, covens, people trying to get you in cliques and things of that nature. You know you're a sovereign citizen. You're not here to be one mind, one sound on something that doesn't resonate with you. Clock that and get away from it too. All right. Now, divine collectives, sometimes the most important messages in an interaction is not about the other person. It's about the awareness that's developing within you. Your intuition is one of your greatest guides. I'm telling you. All right. Now, if this message resonated, please like, subscribe, share, and share with someone who values emotional awareness. They'll get it. Okay. And just let them know about Oracle Rose Healing Tarot, because this is where healing becomes you and you participate in your own rescue. I'll see you next time, collective.